Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it? You already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. Let's get straight to the intro. Welcome back to the channel, and if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that I stay kicking, and I appreciate the support. I'm very humbled. Operation Broken Blade. Man, these feds are a cold piece, right? They always take these operations, these titles they give: Operation Red Right Hand, Operation Scrapbook, Operation fucking Keep Your Hands Up, right? And they always give it a cold twist. It's like they're poking the bear, right? Operation Broken Blade. Anyone who's been in the game, anyone that knows the streets, the criminal underworld, you guys know that when they call it setting someone down, right? When they set their prostitutas down or their women or whatever it is, they put them on the blade, the track, right? I'm surprised this ain't Operation Broken Track. But they also call it the blade. So Operation Broken Blade means they broke the blade up. Where's the blade? This particular blade is in South Central Los Angeles, right off Figueroa. Now, this has been an ongoing Rico, ongoing investigation for several months. If you recall, about 6 months ago, they did an operation where they arrested several alleged gang members from the Hoover criminal street gang, right? And they were alleging that they were trafficking in minors, women, and all kinds of things, all up and down Figueroa, all in South Central Los Angeles. Now, when this story broke, people weren't surprised. You know, this type of activity has been going on. And, you know, to say gangs are not involved in this type of criminal activity would be a lie. Okay. When you get to the bigger cities where there's money to be made, there's definitely going to be a gang involved somewhere along the lines. And if women are going to go out there and commit themselves to the streets, there's always going to be someone behind the scenes, a puppet master pulling the strings. Now, it generally happens in bigger cities, but it could happen in small farm towns as well. Towns like Merced, California, where I'm from, where you would think, it's not big enough to have this type of activity. It definitely is. There definitely is activities. Anytime you see any of these seedy, dirty old motels, you know, the ones that smell like fucking mustard seed when you walk in, smells like they just burned a whole bunch of incense and someone got done and it's all bad. There's definitely something going down in 3C. Okay, definitely. And that's just how it is. And it's not a laughing matter, man. It's actually one of the things that I probably hate the most anytime there's trafficking involved, because somewhere along the lines, there's going to be someone underaged, right? You don't know how many times I've been in prison with guys who speak on this type of activities. Oh, I was out there, man. I had them on the blade. I had them on the block. I had them on the track. I was doing it like this and I was doing it like that. Like it's nothing but a G thing. Like it's a Dr. Dre song, right? And come to find out, half these women that they had out there were teenagers. And it's just upsetting because you know it. They're not saying it, but you just know it by the body language and how happy they were to manipulate people that couldn't think for themselves. It's a sad existence. It's a sad thing, you know, for these people that have to go through this, that get trapped by people like this. But yesterday and the day before, there was a lot of operations conducted. Operation Broken Blade. Several more members of the Hoover criminal gang, as well as other gang members, were arrested and charged with trafficking. Okay, now, what makes this case so big is it's one of the largest crackdowns in Southern California in a very long time. No, they always have these operations where they set people up. They have these workers lure people to hotel rooms or whatever it is, and they bust them. It probably happens monthly. Right? But this one, they're trying to get to the gusto. This one, they're trying to get to the big fish, the people that are actually trafficking these people, the people that are actually sitting them down. And, you know, it's a good thing. To me, it's a good thing. You know, I don't wish incarceration upon someone, but if they're taking advantage of youth, if they're taking advantage of old people, of women, go sit your punk ass down. Go sit down for a while and understand what it feels like to be moved from place to place unwillingly. When you're unwilling to be moved and they're telling you, Go over there. Go over there. Now it's your turn to be sat down. This operation was conducted swiftly, but it was conducted over a period of time as well, right? What makes this such a story is that they actually busted one of these seedy motel owners. And of course, he told on everybody. So what happened was allegedly there's a motel. And I'm going to read you guys what I got right here. So that way we get the details right. And then I'm going to get into a few stories, man. Something that I wanted to talk about. So let's get over here to what happened, right? Okay, I wanted to get right here. Okay. Bear with me because I'm trying to get to that exact story because I don't want to give you guys the bullshit. I want to give you guys the real. Los Angeles. Federal and local law enforcement authorities have enacted a historic crackdown on a multi-year sex trafficking conspiracy operating along South Central Los Angeles' notorious Figueroa corridor. Okay, notorious for this. You know, you've seen music videos, you've seen a lot of things. You always see the hoes on Figueroa, they call them, right? It's sad. The unsealing of a massive 65-count gang Rico indictment marks a decisive multi-agency strike against street-level pimps and complicit businesses exploiting vulnerable women and minors. What we know, the multi-agency sweep known as Operation Broken Blade represents the first ever human trafficking gang Rico case brought in the history of the Central District of California. This is the very first one ever. Historic. They're really trying to shut shit down. Led by the U.S. Attorney's Office Homeland Security Investigations. Oh, they done got Homeland Security involved? Huh, it's bad. IRS Criminal Investigation and the LAPD. The operation has targeted 25 total defendants over the last 11 months, surpassing the total number of trafficking charges filed by the office in the preceding 5 years combined. So they finally decided to do something, okay? The ongoing takedown focuses on a 3.5-mile stretch of Figueroa Street from Gage Avenue south to Imperial Highway to have been known for commercial work, right? Trafficking. The unsealed first superseding indictment names 18 defendants, 17 of whom are tied to a racketeering conspiracy orchestrated by the South LA-based Hoover Criminal Street Gang, or Hoover Gang, right? Done time with Hoovers for years since I was young, right? Young buck. And always had a lot of respect for the Hoovers. But I'm not going to say that they're guilty of this, but I could say that is an area where they frequent. And it seems like the feds, the law enforcement has been watching them for a while. And whatever they had going on, right? Officials confirmed the gang members and associates largely control women along that corridor, pooling resources to rent rooms and disciplining each other's victims. Some members produced rap music and videos glorifying the gang, sex trafficking, drug sales, and firearms possessions. They're going to use everything. That's why when you guys make music videos, you young rappers making music videos, showing women on the blade, showing women on the track, you know, showing weapons, showing blue rags, red rags, orange rags in this case, whatever the case may be, everything will be used against you when they come to get you. If you're involved in any criminal activity, all these rap videos, lyrics, all this stuff will be utilized to show that you are participating in these crimes at the benefit of a gang. And you don't want that because they'll give you all day in the feds. You'll be in the ADX stretched out, sitting there looking around with the Unabomber, right? It'll be bad. So just a word to the wise. Stay on point, man. You know, just don't engage in criminal activity. If you want to be a rapper, be a rapper. You know, you ain't got to really, there's dudes now that they feel like if they're a rapper or whatever, they have to really engage in that, what they're talking about. I get it. Or you're not real, according to the streets. But who's really going to do that real time with you? You know, no one. During the execution of Wednesday's morning search warrants, law enforcement rescued 5 additional victims, immediately connecting them with medical and psychological support. 10 individuals were arrested during the latest sweep. 7 are directly tied to the Hoover criminal gang. I'm not going to say all their names. They don't need to be said right here. 2 gang-affiliated traffickers from rival sets were also arrested. One was from East Coast Crips. The other was from the neighborhood Crips. It's bad, right? Among the new defendants is, and I will say this dude's name, if I can, Mushkamer Rambali Ahir. I'll let my boy Lali translate that for me because I don't know what the fuck that means, right? Age 45, the on-site manager who lived at the Stadium Inn and Spas Motel, a pretty notoriously known motel for this type of activity. Ayer is charged with financing and benefiting from the trafficking, right? Having allegedly deposited $64,581 in proceeds he knew were derived from this type of activity, right? Amir immediately admitted, told on everybody, to investigators that up to 90% of the rooms he rented were used for that type of stuff. And he was taking a 50% cut of the profits to fund his luxury lifestyle. Financial investigators from IRS CI tracked hundreds of thousands of dollars in illicit cash structured across multiple bank accounts to avoid federal tracking, right? It's all bad, right? So it goes on and on to detail the victims and some of their injuries and what was going on with them. I don't want to get into all that, especially when it comes to minors, man. It's a sad thing. I've never been a proponent or an advocate for this shit. Okay, I've always thought it was low class. I always thought in the criminal world, like, I'm not going to knock a next man's hustle, but utilizing minors or utilizing women for beneficial gain is like, or for financial gain is like, come on, man. If you're a gangster, if you're really out there, man, do something. Go out there and get it. But you don't need to manipulate women and be basically a con artist and sneaky and all that to get it and to hurt them when they're not doing what you make them do. To me, that's just as bad as what Chris Brown did to Rihanna. It's just, a thump on the head is the same as that. It's just bad, right? And let me explain to you a situation where I had to come to someone's defense. It was all bad. So years ago, I went to Vegas, right? It was me, a couple primos, and a friend. And I've told the story where we got stuck in Vegas. I don't know what happened, man. The car kept breaking down. We was in a hoopty, I guess, right? My primo's car it was weird. I've told the story. It was like kind of supernatural. We just kept getting stuck. Every time we took the car to a mechanic to fix it up, shit would break down out in the desert. So we ultimately ended up in Vegas for about a week and a half, a little over a week, right? And we were staying at the Motel 6, which is, anyone that knows, it's right next to Hooters and right across from catty corner from the MGM Grand. Okay, there's a Motel 6 there used to be. And we're staying there. Now, Motel 6s are ghetto, right? But they're not as ghetto as like Amir's hotel. You know, those ones where they begin their on, right? But this one was pretty ghetto. And so when I say ghetto, I don't mean black or white or brown. I just mean broke down and cheap, right? So we're in the ghetto hotel because that's all we could afford at this point, because we went from luxury to fluxury, right? Or fuxury. It was all bad. So we're right there in our room. And I'm broke at this point, so ain't no casinos, ain't no partying, ain't no none of that. Just sitting there hoping my tia will send us another fucking Western Union so we can get the fuck up out of here, right? And I hear people arguing outside. So, of course, I got to be nosy. I step outside to light a frajo to see what's going on. And I see a dude pull off in a Cadillac, right? Clean Cadillac, like the new Cadillac of the year. Like, dude looked like he had bread. And it was a black dude, tall black dude, you know what I'm saying? Well put together. He's like, man, I'm out. And I see this chick. She's in the middle of the street, right? All kinds of clothes are thrown in the middle of the street. And she's picking up clothes. And so, of course, I had to be the Captain Save-A-Ho, right? I had to go over there, and I was like, hey, are you good? And she was like, oh, man, my man just left me, whatever, right? So it's domestic situations. I learned a long time ago, long time ago, don't get involved in domestic situations. If I see a man hitting on a woman, of course, I'm going to step up like any other man should do, right? And try to prevent that woman from, getting Stevie Wondered and being blind because he's punching her in the eye. But I'm not going to, if I see a man and a woman arguing, it's none of my business. Till it escalates, right? That's their business. But he already left, and she's picking up clothes. So I ain't gonna lie, help her. And one of my primas who was with us, right? My cousin, she comes out. She's a female, so she's helping her pick up the clothes and stuff. So that chick is like, hey, can I use your phone? He broke my phone. And I said, well, you gonna call the cops or what? She was like, no. I'm trying to get a hold of him. And I said, man, just don't be calling the cops because we don't want to be involved in that, right? Like, really, we ain't trying to be involved, man. We're already doing bad as it is out here, man. We're not trying to be involved in the criminal investigation. So she's like, no. It's all good. So she goes in there. We let her use the phone. One thing leads to another. She's kicking it with us, right? So she starts telling me her story, how she's from Mississippi and she just came out there to Vegas to work. So now I realize what's going on here. she's a worker. She's out there getting money for this guy, right? This was her pimp. And they had gotten an argument earlier because she didn't make enough. And so he threw all her shit out. But still, what boggled my mind was the mind game this guy was playing with her. She got a hold of him and he's yelling at her over the phone. He's like, I'm gonna come pick you up. You better make this money. Like they're screaming back and forth. She's not screaming, she's crying, begging him. And she was so manipulated, so twisted. I felt bad, like, damn, girl. And she was pretty, right? She was like, she had it going on. I was like, man, why are you out here doing yourself like this? But I mean, however people make their money, it's their own business, right? But still, I felt bad because I was like, this dude, he threw all her clothes out in the middle of the street, broke her phone, kicked her out of the motel, locked it so she couldn't get back in. Like, if she didn't have us right there to like help her and she could sit in the room all day, she would have been out there in the hot sun baking. It was like the middle of the summer too. It was bad. She would have just left her out there, like, get my money. It was just that showed me the real game, like how dudes really are, right? And I was just like, wow. And so, anyways, he ended up coming back probably like in the evening time, picked her up, they left. So it was like, cool. Probably about 2, 3 in the morning, she's banging on the door again, all smashed. He did something horrible to her, right? And she's begging to use the phone again. And the first thing she does is run in, and we let her in. We're like, damn, what's going on? First thing she does is call him, begging him to come back and pick her up. She's leaking everywhere, right? I'm like pretty much trying to help her with towels and wash her face. And by this time, we were cool with her. Her name was Peaches, right? That's what we called her. And she was a black girl. And it was just all bad, right? She ends up going back with this dude. And we're like a day away from leaving. And so I'm like feeling bad, like, damn, when we leave, we're her last lifeline out here. Like, she don't got a phone at this point no more. He done smashed her a gang of times. And we're getting ready to leave. It's like the day after, right? They leave for the whole day. We don't see him. And this dude was pulling out hella jerseys, all kinds of brand new clothes, like guy clothes, though. Out, like all his shit was like dry cleaned in plastic and everything. He's putting it in the trunk, like they're getting ready to jam. So we're telling her, all right now. And he's kind of looking at us like, did you make some money off them? And she's like, nah. We're like, hell no, right? And so they end up leaving, and we're getting ready to leave. They come back, and he just throws her out the car, right? And I ain't gonna lie, I had to say something. I was like, hey, bro, fucking man, take it easy, bro. And he was like, oh, you need to mind your business, blood, this, and that. I said, man, let me tell you something, bro. I'm in a bad mood like a motherfucker. My other primo was a big dude. He was like, man, you need to calm down, bro, before I take your chick, right? And that dude, look, he said, you could have her, and just skirt off, left her there. We literally had to give her a ride with us and take her to the bus station so she can jump on. My primo bought her a little ticket. His mom had sent a whole bunch of money so we can get back, right? We had to get her a ticket so she can get back to where she was from. She didn't want to go. She wanted to look for that dude. But we was like, man, just get up out of here, girl. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no face left. For reals. It was all bad. So these type of situations like Operation Broken Blade, I'm all for it. You know, I'm not for locking up the gang members. I know dudes like, oh, there's my homie. Yeah, but your homie's doing bad, bro. That's wrong. Especially when it comes to children. Come on, man. If you condone that shit, you're just as bad, if not worse, right? I always say the condoners are worse. They advocate for that shit. They like that shit. Nah, that's weird shit. Let me tell you another thing, man, about being around someone who's really in that game, in that industry. You know, I was locked up. I was doing a shoot term in a different state, right? And I was locked up with this dude from Chicago, and he was a big time pimp, right? Or he claimed to be. And there used to be a radio station. And what would happen was everyone liked listening to that radio station. At night, we had these little radios, and we liked to listen to that radio station because your family could send you dedications and you could actually hear their voices. And it was just a way to get outside of them walls. And every night, this dude had chick after chick after chick after chick sending him dedications and all kinds of things. And that made me believe what he said was really facts, right? And he was. Me and him ended up being cool. And he ran me down the whole game of why he did what he did. And I understood. I didn't agree, but I understood, right? That was just the game he chose. But I remember one time, he always had money. He would look out like, hey, bro, you need anything on the commissary? Hell yeah, I do, right? All the time. I was a broke motherfucker, right? Hell yeah. He'd be like, I got you. You need some soap on, some whatever, right? He's a black dude, but he was cool. And so he'd always look out, whatever. He always had bread. He was like, man, I got all these chicks sending me in bread. He was still doing his thing from prison. He was a lifer at this point, and he still had him out there on the blade. It was a trip, right? And I remember this chick, she sent him like $900 and something one day, a money order. And he sent it back to her. Returned to send. Now, of course, it was just the receipt. The money was there. But he sent it back to her with a note. Bitch, I said 1,000. I was like, oh, man, this dude was cold, right? But the way these women were manipulated and what they do, man, it hurts my heart to think that there's youngsters that are out there being manipulated and treated like this. This Operation Broken Blade's a good thing, man. You got to get these type of people off the streets, man. You know, we need to help our youth. We need to be setting up programs to game them up on people that try to trick them and try to manipulate them and use them, right? It's a cold game, man. And I know there's going to be these wannabe gangsters. Nah, homie, that's just what it is. They know, nah. 13, 14-year-old don't know. They don't know, believe me. Anyways, with that being said, let me know what you think. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I honestly and truly believe in. That's the betterment of my own people, right? Everybody, too. Not just my own people. See, I say my own people. I'm worried about mines. You worried about yours? I got to get mines. This video is sponsored by Barrio Liquors in Turlock, California. If you're ever in the Turlock area, the Central Valley, pull up to the Barrio. #1 liquor store in all of Central California. Also, by Sticks and Stones Yard Service in Tucson, Arizona. If you live in the Tucson area and you need an estimate on the yard service work, go to Sticks and Stones. He got you. Bang, bang.